I'm joined in our Washington studio by Calvin Dark. He's the principal and co-founder of RC Communications. Calvin, thank you for being on the program. How big of a victory is this for LGBT community in Botswana?
It's very big. And as you were just saying, this comes on the heels of the disappointing ruling in Kenya. So you have a bit of bright optimism for the LGBT community in Botswana, but also across Africa and the world, because this makes a very powerful statement that there's the stereotype that there are certain cultures and places in the world where you will never have equality that you might see in some Western countries, but this shows that equality is the same everywhere.
This is, of course, a major step forward for Botswana. The High Court released a very, very powerful statement here, and one of them was a democratic society is one that embraces tolerance, diversity, and open-mindedness. Not the kinds of statements we've heard in other places in Africa, and certainly not in Kenya. Why Botswana?
Well, I think it's for two reasons. One, on that statement, my favorite quote was, "Sexual orientation isn't a fashion statement." I mean, that is very strong language for tolerance and acceptance. So I think society moved in Botswana towards that. But the other part's really clear is the leadership. The president has been speaking for equality for citizens, including LGBT citizens in Botswana. So that shows you that it takes societal change, but also really good leadership.
And it's not just Kenya. I believe a host of other countries also criminalize homosexuality. Do you think what's happened in Botswana and in a number of other smaller countries in Africa, will this open the door for perhaps the same amount of tolerance and compassion and really human rights?
Well, I think it's kind of like what we said in the United States, no pun intended, when that closet door opens, it's not going to be closed. I think this will give encouragement to people in other countries. Because I think one of the reasons why this was significant in Botswana is it obviously is light years ahead of its neighbors, and some of its neighbors are the worst in Africa and the world on LGBT rights. So I do think that this gives people in countries like Nigeria, Uganda, and others, that it is possible. But I also think that people in Botswana and the world need to be aware there's always a backlash. So you're going to have a backlash for this decriminalization, which is why we can't let up on protecting human rights of LGBT citizens in Botswana and around the world.
And very quickly, Calvin, talk about where British penal codes from the colonial era, this is really the root of the problem here, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And I think one of the detractors that I heard this morning said that they believed homosexuality was brought by the British. And then you had people in Botswana saying it was the penal code that was brought by the British. I think we know which one of those is more correct. But I think this is an example of how the process of liberation is extremely complex and long. That this is now a moment when Botswana has created laws, or actually got rid of laws, that don't reflect where the society is.
All right, we'll leave it there. Calvin Dark, thank you.
Thank you.